Hey, it's prime. We're 3 balls in and we 3 balls out. We all up on your screens like it's prime time's route. Mighty gets a scoring. Oh, and PJ start to scout. Your rhyme's really trash. What do you think he's damn fouls? TBI the show, so buckle down, sit back. And Jay we trust, cause he's the leader of the pack. It's prime, Jupiter.
This is TBI 3 balls in alongside Logan and Davo. This is PJ's. We are back at it again. League week number 4. Well, partially in the books, as 2/3 of the games have been played. We got a special guest joining us for this episode, and we'll recap the games the way it needs to be recapped. But I'm feeling kind of good right now, guys. Our picks, we're looking back on it. There was a game in which you both were adamant that one team was going to lose, and I was adamant that one team was going to win. And I think you should.
Dude, you're talking about the cronies game. We know what happened.
I think you should be eating a little bit of crow right now because you predicted the Crocs to.
Hold on 1 second. You want us to eat crow? All of us went 1-1.
1 second.
PJ gets his second pick right of the season, and he's like,
1 second. 1 second. You were adamant that Crocs were going to destroy the Cobras, and it's not even going to be a game. And my point was it was going to be an upset victory, and I predicted that. Not only was I actually partially wrong because I said it'd be an upset victory in a close game. This was a blowout game. Let's jump into it right away with the stats of that game. You got Sharf everywhere in that game. Picks galore. Goldberg nearly had what I would have predicted a pick 6 last week. Got stopped at the 2. Perla throws 5 touchdowns. That defense looked really tough. Now, for those of you who are not on the field today, just to give you some context,
you're dry.
It was a messy field. Messy game, right? Snow, I think, was hiking off the back of his lineman, so that kind of was a disadvantage for him. Walls, I believe, had a couple of sacks. Spira had a couple of sacks. Like these guys were getting in. They were making havoc on Snow. At the end of the day, Snow threw a bunch of picks, threw a pick 6. Still ended up throwing 2 touchdowns himself, but just not a close game at all. Whiskey also having a sack and playing well. I got to give
Whiskey have a sack.
You know what? I got to feel really good right now for the Cobras because, guys, them winning is what we need for Jubal. We need parity. We can't have an 0-4 team. We can't have a team that's out of it already that clinched not making the playoffs. Like, that would be bad. I'm happy for Perla. We're happy for Dwight Goodman. We're happy for Cobras. Thoughts on the game? You want to break it down, Logan?
Yeah, I would love to break it down. First of all, his name is White Goodman, not Dwight. Second of all, this is actually the first time that the Cobras have all showed up. They showed up with an entire roster. And, we all had these issues with the way that, let's say, the team was constructed. And that's mostly because they had players that were playing out of position or because of who was able to show up, who was healthy and whatnot. They were forced to play positions that were not the most ideal. Well, finally, they showed up. And the entire team was there, and everyone could play the positions that Perla intended them to. And look what happened. They put up freaking 6 touchdowns. 5 of them on offense and 1 on defense. So maybe Perla wasn't as crazy as we thought he was. This was a phenomenal game for the Cobras. It was really a gelling moment. And quite frankly, I think to your point, this was a turning point in the season for them. They had the option of going 0-4, which would have eliminated them from the playoffs, or come away with a victory and still be alive for that last spot in the playoffs.
I also think we wondered who would be the veteran presence on that team who would step up and be the leader of that team. And you know what? I'm a little shocked to say it, and that's not an insult to him, but MK, the performance he had today was honestly maybe his greatest performance in all of his years with Jubal. 3 receiving touchdowns and a pick 6. You're talking about 4 touchdowns overall. That guy had a game in which he blew the game open.
Now, were you shocked that he was a vet? Or were you shocked that? But anyway, no, you're right. MK had a phenomenal game. Goldberg and Sheriff, like you said, both had a touchdown and a pick. Whiskey with a sack. Perla, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. But, quite frankly, this is a team that when they all show up and they're all available, they have guys who do their specific jobs. Good for them, coming away with a really big victory. And, I don't mind eating crow. I'm happy for them that they won. And, happy to take it on the chin. Look, Zinn still did Zinn things, right? 2 touchdowns and a pick. Snow did not have his best game. I think that the conditions, both because he couldn't snap and because, the field was slick, he couldn't really get his feet under him, really, really hurt, his effort there. But him playing defense also didn't help. But look, there's no excuses. Cobras came away with a real solid victory, and they're looking like a team that people don't want to play anymore. It used to be, okay, maybe that's an easier game on the schedule, a schedule that you could look like a get-right game, if you will. But all of a sudden, like they're challenging for a playoff spot as well. And quite frankly, I think the league should be on notice. Dave was going to come in and be like, so they're still not good.
No, first of all, I said that we can never judge them because they haven't brought their full team.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's fair.
If you go back to the episode, that's what I said.
Definitely.
That being said, they played a very smart and strategic game. A lot of dink and dunks, keeping the ball away from Zin. So defensively, Zin couldn't get around. They had guys in motion. Getting Solo out there, getting MK on the run, Sharp, making some catches and runs after the catch. In this condition this game was played in, it's very hard to grab flags, and they took advantage of that. So all the kudos goes to them. They played extremely well. Most people did not think that they were going to have the shot that they had winning. Yes, PJs, you did. Congratulations. We are sitting here with that loss on our shoulders, but it's just one victory. So first of all, we can't give them the league yet. But what it does do is it makes the bottom very interesting because you get one, you build another one on it. That's two. You can get to three possibly. You're talking about they can possibly get back in the mix for playoffs.
Being the 4th seed.
Right.
Correct. And they can also knock other teams out. So all their games that people were already writing off now become very important because they have this one win. They can.
But more importantly, mark it on your calendar next Sunday. You have Lionhearts versus Dogs because those are 1-win teams. The loser of that game falls into a 5th place tie with the Cobras. As a result, there's Cobra win. So that game's become super, super important because, basically that's the 4 or 5 right there.
And they both have tough schedules left, if I think correctly.
The other piece is that, and I think this kind of played into their hand, is that because of the poor weather, it enabled them to play a much dirtier, more physical game that I don't think that Crocs were able to really, really fight against. Right? Crocs are a faster team. They're a speed team, right? That they're hitting on slant routes. Snow's getting the ball out really quick.
Yeah.
A game in the mud or a game in, wet conditions really lent itself nicely to the Cobras. And quite frankly, like you said, props to them for taking advantage of that.
Okay, so I think it's time to transition to the other game, a game in which, listen, nobody knew even at 7:30 this morning who was going to be the quarterback for the Cronies. Cronies did show up.
I knew at 8:00.
Yeah, that's also a fair point. Cronies showed up with 5 guys at 8 a.m. this morning.
Burgers and fries.
5.5.
Tommy unfortunately no showed. It happens. It happens. He was there for the second game and the third game. He does no shows for this game. Alarm clock issue. Nothing you could do about it. And then, of course, Daxie has a car issue this morning. He shows up 25 minutes. Listen, that's a tough one. It hurts the game because you're not there. People are there. It's cold. It's raining. It's wet. It's a little bit unfair. Jordan called him out in the chat. That's enough. Enough said. But Daxie's got to be there on time. Right. Yeah. Jackson's got to be there on time. That's what it comes down to. But the game does get played. And, what a game for Prey, honestly. Like, we keep saying about BOP how good they are on their roster, but it starts with Prey. And I think, I'm convinced right now because of Gronk's injury, there is no doubt in my mind outside of Mighty, Prey is the MVP. I think those two guys are going to be combating for that title of MVP. But right now, it's got to be Prey or Mighty. Prey is just so freaking good. Offense, defense, and orchestrating this team. You don't have Prime in this game. You don't have Ivry in this game. But yet, all the people, bring in Justin. He pieces it. He's on the line rushing with DK. The play of DK this season has to be noted as well. And then, of course, you got Yoni O, who's becoming like part of the O Island, right? Like, that's a place you don't want to throw the football to. And you get Davo, like, blitzing all over the place, becoming a third major rusher. I think on one of the videos on Storm's touchdown, right? Like, we'll play it right here, right? You see Davo in the corner right there, blitzing in, right? Blitz. Causing Yaron to go to the outside. Yaron just throws that ball up. Storm over Prey. Just an unbelievable catch by Storm, taking it to the house for a touchdown. But you look at this team. Bop is just so good. So good. Crony showed up, only 4 of their regulars. Thank you, Waldo, for playing. Thank you, Yaron, for playing. Thank you, Brody. for playing. Like that was a good one. Brody might have been the quarterback had Tommy been there, but your own gives you that veteran presence. But Logan, break it down for us. The game itself.
Look, so Yaron came in three touchdowns, 1 pick. Quite frankly, as a replacement, last minute quarterback, like you really can't ask for more, right? Like, quite frankly, I'm not convinced that any other quarterback they would have brought in would have played any better than Yaron did. So, A, thank you, Yaron, and B, that's a valiant effort. You can't really put that on him. Storm did what MVP Storm does. 2 touchdowns in the game. Like you said, we saw the video. Great play. So Storm played well, opened at 2 sacks. Flipping it to the other side, Frey comes away with 5 touchdowns. Freaking 5 touchdowns. And again, like we said this going in, last week's episode, like there isn't a better quarterback in Jubal right now.
Yeah.
And Frey is playing out of his mind. He threw 5 touchdowns, 4 of them to 1 receiver. Like this team is just.
But like in the conditions, right? Like that's also the thing, right? Like because Prey is a running quarterback and he uses speed, right? He uses speed to run a lot, but at the same time, like he's dealing with the conditions. It's a 12-12 game, right? And 9-10. So like you're about 45 minutes into the game. It's a close 2 touchdown game. Then they take a 2 touchdown advantage lead. And then Yaron hits Storm for a touchdown right back in the end zone. And you're thinking, not a lot of time left. Maybe if you make a stop, and then of course Prey finds an open receiver. And the game goes away, game over, walk-off touchdown.
So wait, it was 12-12. That means 2 touchdowns each. So had the game ended that way, even with extra points, we still would have had a tie? Is that what you're telling me?
Davo, you played in this game.
This is only 1 extra point in that whole game.
Cronies end up with 19, so I think so. And Bob ended up with 30, and that's 5 missed extra points.
Davo, talk us.
Between those 8 touchdowns, there was 1 converted extra point.
Talk us through this game. By the way, I just want to mention you 2 predicted last week that it'll be a blowout. It certainly was not a blowout. But
okay. So first of all,
it was what
you predicted to be a blowout. It wasn't
5-3. What did I say? 6-2.
You didn't get
7-1.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, you're
right. But
that's fair.
Really?
That's fair.
You said I should be 14-1.
It should have been, but they had different players.
So that's not my fault that Bob played poorly.
Okay.
First of all, Yaron came in. Yaron did a fast.
That's also true. We didn't think Yaron was going to play quarterback.
Makes tremendous difference. So our
wait, are you crazy? Yaron? Wow. It's a first. Here's what I'm going
to say about Yaron. It's very interesting. Back at all of Yaron's past drafts, he never drafted a good enough line. He was always receiver heavy. This game, the first league game he actually got to play with a line, I think he played outstanding. And I think
in bad throwing conditions too.
Correct.
Terrible throwing conditions.
Correct. I think he was so happy to have open in front of him. However you want to take it, yes, that's how he was. Riding solo, now he wants to ride open. But I think he was just so comfortable behind that line. That being said, I think the line battle was tremendous on both sides. I know we usually give the line to the other opposing teams, but I think it's time to give DK his flowers because he is probably playing like a top 2 lineman this season. Not only on the line, but chasing down flags. He's been fantastic. Just getting to the quarterback, getting pressure, and he was going up against 2 good linemen. It was a wet game. It was frisky.
Frisky.
It was frisky. Yeah, that's a good word. It was a good game. It was a wet game. It was frisky. It was a lot played. There was a lot of drops. There was a lot of bad conditions for football. But Cronies still had a really good team show up. They had that very solid line. Zada, Storm, as your receivers were really good. Brody really helped them out. If they can get a quarterback, and now they have a whole month before the next league game. So, you're talking about you could possibly get Jordan back. You can get Sting back potentially. If they can figure out a quarterback situation, be it whomever, that's good enough, they can still be a problem in any game. And I don't think any team would really want to face them. But kudos to Bob. It was a great game. And looking forward to the finishing week 4.
Okay. Well, let's jump into now. Let's look at the standings. You have Bob standing all alone at 4-0. You got Crocs and Cronies each at 2-2. although I think Crocs is below Cronies based on point differential. And then you have obviously Lionhearts and Dogs each at 1 and 2. And then, of course, in the bottom, you have Cobras at 1 and 3. So we talked about it before. Next week's matchup, Lionhearts and Dogs, which will complete league week number 4, will be a major telling
Is that
sign.
definitely playing this coming Sunday?
It's definitely being played the coming Sunday. So it would be a major sign for us to know who is going to win. So I think we take a moment right now to break down this game. I know we don't have the rosters yet, but based on projection, I think Dogs are going to have their whole team. Lionheart should have most of their team. Logan, you want to break it down for us?
We'll do it like we always do, right? 3 elements: quarterback, line, wide receivers. Quarterback, Yaron versus Shirley, assuming they're both playing. Yaron this season, if you consider rushing and passing touchdowns, he's got 49 touchdowns and 27 interceptions for 1.8 touchdowns per interception. So a slight drop from where he was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Shirley, meanwhile, is at 24 touchdowns, both rushing and passing, versus 11 interceptions, which is 2.2 touchdowns per interception. Now, granted, Shirley hasn't played in a couple of weeks, so that was unbelievable.
And for those of you wondering what we're talking about, I suggest you call in.
Anyway, so Shirley does have the advantage. I will say Shirley's the advantage. He hasn't played in a couple of weeks. So,
baby.
Right, again, Mazel tov, but like some stats get kind of crystallized, if you will. So, I'm going to give the edge to Shirley here. He maybe have a little rust, which we do have to consider. Yaron just came away from a 3-touchdown, 1-pick game, but because of the stats, I'm going to go with Shirley here. But it's really a pick 'em. But again, because I don't want to be on the fence, I am going to go with Dax over here. We're going to look at the line. You got Beast and Burt versus Legs, Big O, and Salem. And again, I don't know how many times we have to say this on the show, but Legs just keeps doing Legs things. It's again that's just the level he's playing on. It's really hard to bet against Legs. Legs has the advantage here. That is a great line. Both sides have great lines, but I'm going to go with Legs. So the Dogs. I've got the Dogs here. Now the wide receiver tandem. You got Dax, Jack, Star Fox, and Stats versus Mighty, Ross, Steve-O, and Blitz. Waldo, while on the team, I don't believe he's going to be here this week, 2 weeks in a row, so no Waldo there. You know what's unbelievable? I every week I say it's the year of the rat because, again, I do think he's the leading MVP candidate, even though Prey is doing some great things. I do say it's the year of the rat. Mighty does Mighty things, but, geez, it's so, like, and again, I've said it's hard to pick against Mighty, but, like, that is some wide receiving core that the Lionhearts have. I do think I have to give the edge to the Lionhearts here. That is, those 4 guys are playing great ball. Really hard to pick against those guys. So I will give the edge in the wide receiving core to the Lionhearts. The way I see this game going, I actually see it being a close game, but I do see the Dogs coming away with a 4-3 win, partially because I don't want to pick against Mighty because I do think it's the year of the rat, but I do see Dogs coming away with a 4-3 victory.
Give up. Pick it away.
Logan. Great commentary as always. Great analysis.
I love you too.
I am gonna go. I'm gonna go opposite you for the same reasons you went for your picks. I'm gonna give Yaron the slight edge due to that little bit of rust that's really might have. I am gonna go with the Lionhearts. I'm not gonna. Sorry, I'm gonna go to the Dogs line. Because they're just more dominant. I'm going to go with the Dogs receiving core because of Mighty.
I can't argue that. I understand. I didn't go that way, but I totally get it.
But here's where I'm going to differ from you. I think that the Lionhearts, going back to your own drafted for this game. This is the game that they were gearing up towards. And Yaron picked the secret weapon that I think is going to turn this game, and that is Morty.
That's interesting.
Nobody knows really better than Morty. I think Morty is able to get into his head. He's able to predict his plays. I think he's going to be all over the field, coming in as a third rusher, dropping back as a third rusher. I think it's going to fluster Shirley a little bit. And I think the defense... Because the Lionhearts, while I gave the receiving core to the Dogs, their defense is very solid. You talked about Stats, you talked about Star Fox, you talked about Morty, you talked about Jack. I think they defense maybe comes away with just 1 or 2 more picks than the Dogs will come away with, and I think that will just turn it slightly. I think it's a very close and gritty game. I give the edge to the Lionhearts, like a 3-2 victory. I don't predict extra points anymore because they're stupid. We should get rid of them.
My man.
But 3-2 Lionhearts. And I think the Dogs are in trouble if they lose this game. Talking about dropping to 1-3, officially not in the playoffs, as of that moment the game ends. And, they have tough games coming up. It's, we might not even see Srili as a repeating quarterback even make the playoffs, which is, we talked about Gronk and Srili, who's going to repeat. Both might not even be in the playoffs.
Well, I think we kind of talked about this before, right? This game matters so much, right? So much in the standings. Who's going to be the 5th seed? Who's tied with the Cobras? Who's going to be the 4th seed? Or tied with, I guess, the 4th seed with the other 2-2 teams. So there's so much riding on this game. And I think you both said it so well. It's going to be a close, hard-fought battle. Two teams that are, I think, match up really well with each other, right? Like they both have really, really good receivers, really, really good defenders. I don't think either team, I don't think the advantage is on either side. The line, you can probably give a little bit of an edge, like you mentioned before, to the Dogs, but I don't think it's that big of an advantage you give there. At the end of the day, I think about the quarterback who needs this game more and who wants this game more. And I think for me, I think having Mighty on your team, like, there's no other player to, I think, get into Swirly's head of how important a game is, how important winning is. I don't think Mighty will let his team lose. And I know I've mentioned the quarterback, but I don't think Mighty will let Swirly let this team lose.
It's funny because Mighty won't let Swirly not give him the ball.
Right.
And Mighty has never lost a game where he's received the ball 100% of the time.
So to me, I think this game is going to come down to, if the Dogs execute, they're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't disagree with you guys. I think it's going to be close 3-2, 4-3, maybe 5-4. Like, I think it's going to be back and forth. It's going to be a huge battle. I recommend everybody come down and watch this game because it's going to be a fun game to watch, but I think it's a Dog victory. That's two of us for the Dogs. You're obviously with the Lionhearts. But by the way, just because I picked the Dogs here,
underdogs story.
1 second, but I think even though we picked the Dogs, I don't think either one of us think it's going to be a blow-away victory for the Dogs. I think Lionhearts have, Lionhearts.
This is a close game, and I think the Dogs
Vegas,
come away.
What are they close in Vegas? A pick'em game?
Yeah, exactly. I think the Dogs come away with like the one play that changes the game. You know what I mean? Literally, and therefore it's decided by one touchdown. I agree with you. I think this is an excellent game. This will be a great watch, which is why I won't be there. But
are you ready, Devo? Bringing in our guest for this week's episode. He's one half of the tandem of the Muppet/Puppets. Is none other than the man we forgot in last week's episode. It's Ernie. Okay. Firing, got an open receiver. He's got a first down and a little bit more. Still on his feet. Wow, Ernie with a touchdown. Wow.
I don't do anything until we drink first, though.
All right, welcome.
It was mid-beer.
Here we go.
All right, guys. Cheers.
Ernie, good to have you back on TBI. Season 1, you made your first appearance. You were also new to Jubal back then. I'm going to jump into our first question. And that is, now that you're in year 3 of Jubal, what do you think in your 3 years is the biggest highlight for you?
And the highlight for me, there's so many. I mean, just playing with the guys, the camaraderie, the jokes on the chat, just everything about Jubal has been the highlight. There hasn't been like a single moment. But yeah, it's just been a great ride. I'll say that.
So last year's championship win, where would you rank that in your highlights?
It's certainly up there. But it's all just a part of the amazingness that is Jubal. That's what I would say. I mean, last year's championship was a ton of fun. Yeah, that team was great, but I'm having a great time this year too.
Well, that's my question. Be honest right now. Playing with Prey versus winning a championship. Which one are you like?
It's
the French game. Yeah. Playing with Prey is like winning a championship.
Prey gave me like strict instructions. Like, if you're gonna be on TBI, you're not. He's like, I'm not.
It's not win a championship game. It's that he could win a championship.
Yeah, I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Right. Here's the real question, and PG, you kind of alluded to it, but I'll dig a little bit deeper there, or say a little bit better. If you were to compare last year's team and this year's team, so Roll Tide of last year and Bop of this year, I'm not asking you to pick a favorite, but just kind of compare and contrast, if you will, the two. I'll leave it up to you if you want to pick a favorite.
I will. I'll go into it, and it'll go a little bit into what PJ's was kind of alluding to about the two teams that I played for. I'll say that truthfully, both quarterbacks, I love both of them. Surly and Prey are both top talent quarterbacks. They're a lot of fun. They get the ball to the open guy. Um, the teams are, scarily similar. I would honestly say, like, Roll Tide was an anomaly. Nobody knew a lot of these guys coming in, so there was just like that factor of, wow, this is like a lot of this great talent that you saw go a lot in the early rounds this year are now dispersed, and it's a bit of a different thing. But Prey drafted extremely well, and I know that there's a lot of, he did draft guys that have some injury concerns, and one who literally lives in Florida. If you look at both teams are really, really good. I would love to see. I mean, I don't know how that would work, how I would play for one. I can't play for both. In both, exactly. I would play defense for Shirley and offense for Bray. But
no, definitely no. You'd have to really impossible. You'd have to play offense.
No. It's fine. You let it go. Let it go.
He's guarding himself.
He's good.
One play he's offense, one play defense.
Both teams are just really, really top talent teams. I love the team that I'm playing with this year. A lot of great guys, and I love the team that I was playing with last year. That's as political as you guys can get.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Ernie, first off, what's up, my top? You know.
Top. If you know, you know, you know.
I do know, but top.
No, he doesn't know.
Listen, it's a bop thing.
It's a bop thing. It's a bop chat inside.
Oh, so you weren't calling him Noah.
Oh, yes, he was.
Here.
Yo, you want our chat?
Logan's on every chat.
He's secretly there.
But anyway, keep going. Keep
So
going.
as I was saying, obviously balled out today like you do every game. If we had power rankings anymore, you'd probably be like number 2 or 3. Probably be like,
Hold on a second. Could you guys bring power rankings back so I can make it one time?
Maybe you should.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea.
Well, you know what?
I've never been on that.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we just make a personalized power rankings for you?
No, you know what we should do?
We'll just put Ernie on it, and that's it.
Here's what I think.
I'm mad in a league of his own.
You know, 3 touchdowns in 7 games, 2 Jew balls.
No, here's how I see
Well,
it.
one Jew ball's
I
gonna have.
agree with Ernie. Let's bring back old school like TBI stuff, like that segment Playmakers. Like we should totally bring that back.
Yes.
That's a great idea. We haven't had that in a while. People have been asking for it. Like, kiss of the week. Like we should totally bring this stuff back. That's a great idea. Anyway, Dave, I'll keep going.
Obviously you're my bop brother. You're my league front man. Tell us, if you had to choose, because obviously right now you're on fire. You just come off a 4 touchdown game.
Trying to
Yeah.
pull you off.
Obviously, you just come off 4 touchdown game. Gonna win the Jew ball. Tomorrow, Monday night, you have this big concert. If you had to choose one right now, winning the championship or playing a sold out concert, which one are you picking?
That's
No
a
pressure.
really tough call.
By the way, right now,
I'm not getting
his
paid.
manager right now is the right answer.
The answer is definitely playing for a sold out crowd,
Wow.
singing and doing a good job while singing.
Well,
We get up there and suck it.
was like a sold crowd? You mean like 1,000 people or 10,000 people?
I don't know, Davo. What was the
6,493 people.
in? I mean, I'm picking that probably, but
Probably having a yard jet today also.
yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know. Now, what, for my Jubal family, I'm saying I'd rather win the championship.
I got one more.
And then when they ask me on like the Jewish TMZ, like Country Yahtzee, I'll say doing the concert.
I got one more for you. Obviously we're on this nice couch. Usually it's just me. There's been a lot of speculation of the Bop hate that's been coming off this couch. Now that you're here with me and there's 2 against 2, would you like to say anything for the Bop haters?
I'll say one thing. I don't think that you guys are.
I'm positive we pick Bop every week.
You guys, I think what Davo's alluding to. David. We're getting serious here.
Yeah.
Where David's alluding to is that it feels like whenever there's a conversation about how well we did in a game, there's always like, but their team came late or their quarterback's hurt. And really, Trey deserves just a little more credit than that for drafting this team and for the players around us. We feel like we should get that like ultimate love. Like this team is unstoppable. That type of love.
Well, listen, if we're gonna be honest right now, right? Let's pull back the curtain here. You got a little bit of controversy with that game with the Dogs in week 2, right? So I think that the way that game ended, the fact it was so tight and so back and forth. So I think there was legit, at least the dog perspective was that Bop maybe got away with a call that maybe wasn't a call,
But they should have scored.
but that's not the point, Dave. Meaning they again that's still teams.
What?
Listen, we look at
So a team feels like that they were cheated. That means that Bop's not good.
Okay,
That's
let's,
what I'm thinking.
I'll say this. I'll say this.
that's great.
Now, for those of you watching, you don't know what just happened in the Bills Miami game. Call in.
Call in. I'll say this about, first of all, I wasn't there for that Dogs game, but if I was there, I probably definitely would not have called flag guard, only because then Mighty would have yelled at me. But I'll say
There, we probably would have scored.
I'll say this about all the love and the hate. It doesn't really matter. I think all these teams, and really, I mean this honestly, all these teams could really at any point go on a run. There's a lot of talent in Jubal. Bop, I will say this because Prey made me promise that I would. We have not done anything yet. Until there is a championship in our hands, we have done nothing yet. We've played well. We're happy that we played well. But any of these teams could go on a run. You can't tell me that Dogs can't go on a run.
Look at Cobras
Yeah,
today.
today, yeah.
But no one saw that.
But history's on
Actually,
you.
you did.
History's on. I did. History's on your side though, because the last 2 number 1 seeds did go on to win the championship. So just saying that history's on your side right now. It could be a 3-peat, but like you said, once you get the playoffs, you never
Anything
know.
could happen.
Exactly.
And history is always
But-
there.
But you
So
do
for something
have,
to prove
but
it
you
wrong,
do have a
so.
league championship winning quarterback on your team, and you do have a receiver and cornerback in prime if he's able to play, who's also a champion.
Right.
So you have
And
Tabak.
Ernie.
Tabak is not.
too.
Tabak is a.
Birds of
He's not a champion with cronies, but he's a
Right.
champion with the Birds of Prey.
He was
Also
a-
a champion. So I'm saying you have players on the team that obviously
Something
have the
that
experience.
experience.
You do. You definitely have it. And by the way, the way DK is playing right now, the way he's balling, he's up there in the conversation with top linemen.
By the way, can we just,
Also,
can we
shout out
just
to DK.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
One of the just straight up prettiest slide into water
You can say
I've
whatever
ever.
you want
I
to
know
say.
it's the sexiest thing I've ever seen on a football field.
DK's going for sexiest Jubal.
Yeah, that was crazy. I don't know if you but
No footage.
There was
no
no footage
footage,
of that play.
but DK literally just slid in a puddle, grabbed the flag, and just came like right up as if he was
Oh, really?
Made a nice
as if he was
wave.
on a
No way.
surfboard.
it was
And like
it
with
was
the
pretty-
hair also with the hair just like
It was pretty
swinging
sweet.
back.
It was pretty sweet.
It was really
It
nice.
was pretty sweet.
No, the credit to PJ for
PJ's
coming out for that. No, it's credit to him for being there and taking any
Agreed.
video because that could not
It
have
was
been
freezing.
that
It
could
was
not have been
freezing.
I'm gonna bring this back to singing just to kind of get us back focused here. What do we have to do to get you and Prime in the studio? Like, who do I have to sleep with to make this
I
happen?
know. It's pretty crazy.
I don't know. Who's like his producer? I want in there with him as much as he wants to get in there with me. Like I think
you
we
have, you have
both.
to wait for the weekly album.
Could you imagine how that like
They freaking awesome.
like we thought Nissan Black had like good like stuff out there for like rap in the
this would
Jewish
be
world?
awesome and black.
Could you imagine how amazing it would be if like we put out like a full blown Jewish song with me and Prime?
Well,
That'd be awesome.
we do have an intro. Like the intro is kind of a Jewish song. With
By the way,
Prime.
I'd go instantly viral.
Yeah, you probably would. By the
either with us season 1. Do you remember what episode it was?
3. I want to
6.
say. Oh.
Yeah. And see, for all of you out there, sometimes you don't remember your first. Which team in leagues scares you the most?
this year.
Yeah, right.
This
I don't
year,
care
which
about that.
team in league scares me the most?
You know what I mean? So obviously, you guys are sitting right now in the 1 seed. If Lionhearts don't win out, then you guys would be the 1 seed in the playoffs. So, which team do you want to see least?
I'm gonna preface this. I'm gonna preface this with, as I said before, all these teams have such great talent. The team that would scare me the most is the Dogs,
Dogs.
because whenever you have Shirley on the other side
And Mighty.
and Mighty, that
And
whole
legs.
team,
And legs.
that whole team, yeah, they're just a great team. They're a great team, but they're all listen, they're all great teams. But
And Steve-O.
I think
And
they would.
Ross.
I think they would be the team. I would
Okay,
want to
we get it. We love everyone in Jubal. Yeah,
And
you're
Orange.
saying Dogs.
Yeah,
is
I think Dogs is the team that I'd be scariest. Scary
All right,
guys.
and then
Meanwhile, they might not even make the playoffs. So you never
They
know.
might not.
look, yeah,
League parity has been crazy this year.
that is, and that's a good thing. Last one for me. So I know growing up, I tried to style my play after certain players. Was there anyone specifically like NFL players? Was there anyone that you tried to style your play after, either offensively or defensively?
So
I was thinking the same thing, by the way.
I said
If
in the
Prime is
NFL.
not, if Prime is not your answer, he's in trouble.
no, we said NFL, so I'm clear on that. You guys are talking about like,
Prime.
you guys are saying when I play quarterback.
No, was that? I meant
Whenever,
Prime.
When I play quarterback, right?
Dealer's choice.
Did you play Brucey in the longest yard?
No. But he played like Bruce in his one of your. his
Ooh,
first
guys,
season.
guys, give
I was
me
on your team that game.
my first time.
What?
I know anybody. Oh my god, these guys are all yelling at me. I think give me like 5 games in a row. I think I would put it together, but that doesn't matter. I'm happy where I am in Jubal. If I had to say, I always felt a little bit like that Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Hunter Renfro type player on offense. You know, find the open spot,
Yeah.
get to the right spot, be a quarterback friendly receiver.
Not the flashiest guy, not the best
Not
guy,
the
but
best, yeah.
sure hand,
Sure hands,
finding the
just
soft spot in the
find
zone.
soft
Getting open and yeah.
And as on defense, I don't know. I was Jason Seamer. I mean, if we're gonna talk like idle as a defensive player, it's always Revis, right?
Yeah.
Revis out the corner, just lock down, get up at the line, don't get and be able to keep up with your man going deep. That's who I always would have loved. Not that I'm saying I'm anywhere near comparable to that, but it's who I would say is my idol on defense.
Love it.
All right. Final question for Ernie in this episode. So appreciative that you're here, by the way. Final question, though. We have a lot of main event Jubal specialty games. You know, we have a league championship. We have Bets versus Rooks. You know, could you have New Year's, Xmas, right? Jesus Bowl. Would you create another bowl if you could? If you could, become the GMing, right? If you could be, captaining, if you could make some type of game or some type of bowl, what would be a bowl that you think Jubal could benefit from?
That's a great question. A bowl that Jubal could benefit from.
I know one.
I would love it to be like old school Queens versus Long Island. Meaning that means we get Prey because lived in Queens, and we put together those guys who all like lived in Queens for a while.
So like when you mean Queens, you mean like Queens or you mean like Far Rockaway also?
No, I mean Queens.
No, he means like Huron Hills.
I mean like UR Hills. Forest.
All right, so
Right.
that means we get Mayor and Munch.
Yeah, we get Mighty
And me.
and Logan.
And
Jordan?
Jordan
I was
lived in
saying,
Queens.
I was Jordan and
Jordan lived in
Spira.
Queens.
Spira also with and Bosch. Yeah.
This would be a fun. it could be a fun
Again,
game.
like everyone we just named.
Either that or like Jets fans versus Giants fans
Wow,
could
way
be
to-
fun.
I'm just saying, like,
Jets versus Giants has always been a fantasy that we've talked about.
There's a lot.
oh, is that a good fan?
Jets fans versus Giant fans.
Yeah.
It'd be funny.
I'd rather do high versus drunk.
High versus drunk is
In both.
In both.
Plus, it's such a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for
What a
having me.
game you had today. 4 touchdowns overall and an interception. Wow. Keep up the
Ball
great
goes
work.
to
It was a
Spain also.
pleasure.
We might not mention you last week, but I don't know how we don't mention you next time in a
You
month.
know what? Just keep my names at your mouth. All right, guys.
Oh, good to have the Ernie on the show, right?
That's right.
I don't no Muppet puppet strings coming
No,
down
no
for him.
Muppets there, and you
What's
may
this
say
play for?
All right, Davo, what should they do this week?
Obviously, a first course. Hit that like button, share, subscribe. Guys, we had almost 80 views in the last episode. Again, we don't know who's watching, but we appreciate you sharing and subscribing.
it's all the Russian bots from PJ's interviews.
Listen, and if you watch and you want to play Drew Ball and you can play quarterback, the cronies are looking. We're just throwing that out there. We have, I don't even think we have Tuesday Night Football because
Championships.
I don't know if it's a real league. I think the game is postponed. But if not, go support your Drew Ball brothers out there. But like I said, I think the game is postponed as of the current taping of this show. We are going to have week 12, 13, whichever one it is. Sign-ups. Zada, please post that when you can.
But only.
But only-
do you think we'll have 2 games or one?
One game.
Probably one game because, guys, again, you can come a little early. Watch that great battle that we're going to see between the Lionhearts and the Dogs that we just spoke about. Again, support. It's been a great league season, and you always want to scout, watch, support.
Ernie's got a show tomorrow.
Correct.
Today, technically.
Well, depending on when
For those of you watching.
it could be
Tonight.
yesterday, depending on when it drops. But on Monday, big shout out to Zalman Pollock for his Deontay. He is the guest opener. There's a big show, big fundraiser hosted by the Jordan lookalike logo. That's Coach Brew, if you were wondering. Try to go and support him if you can. Again, please, if you haven't done so, if you're afraid to do so, push yourself towards sick play, guys. We're really trying to give back to the community.
I think we're a month away from our first sick play appearance. So get in there.
It's a very.
By the way, those of you who haven't signed up, come on.
You're a little fugazi, right?
Don't be a puss. Like, sign up. You can go talk to someone who's not feeling well. Why is that so hard?
Come on, you home with your friends. Like,
Right, yeah, exactly.
Listen,
It's like football.
it's not an easy thing, but just remember that we're here to support you. All of Jubal's around to support you, and let's just give back. Let's the little things in life that really help. As always, thank you for watching so much. We are not.
I'm shocked you went through a whole episode and didn't even mention your sweatshirt. I'm impressed, Davo. You've grown up a lot.
Suck at PJs. Don't forget, what are we?
We are 3 balls in.
And now we're 3 balls out.
Have a great week, everybody. Our guest for this week's episode is none other than the puppet, or one half of the puppets.
No,
Muppets.
No. He is. One second. The Muppets are Jim Henson.
No.
He's a
Sesame
puppet.
Street is not. He is a puppet, but he's
Sesame
not half of
Street
a puppet.
characters are Muppets.
He's one half of the puppet of Bert and Ernie.
Sesame Street
They're
characters are
separate
Muppets.
puppets.
They're Muppets.
I was gonna. They're not Muppets. They're
All
puppets.
right. Well, that'll be a great debate.
Are Sesame Street characters Muppets? Yes. There we go. Are Sesame Street characters Muppets?
No, because the Muppets is a defined term with like
Sesame
Kermit the
Street characters are
Frog.
Muppets because in 1969, all whimsical puppet characters created by Jim Henson as collaborators were called Muppets.
But Ernie and
Okay.
Bert weren't created by Jim Henson, were
They
they?
were. In
They're
1969.
historically known as Muppets.
They're all Muppets. Yes, Sesame Street characters are Muppets.
No, they were created by Jim Henson.
This is so great.
I don't think they were. Anyway, let's go.
They're Muppets. They're considered Muppets.
Consider Muppets. They're not actually Muppets. Keep going.
I consider
Very-
great
very
I consider those great conditions for football. Wet, rainy, windy. You can't get better than that in January.
I mean, you could,
What?
but
January
but I will say
Northeast,
this.
this is what you dream of.
Um,